7 weeks ago, we were captivated by a battle royal.
You make a name in these games, don't you?
The Swans and Blues locked swords in an epic until the King of Carlton, Chris Judd, rallied his troops with a triumphant final quarter.
A famous victory for Ratton.
Now the Blues are marching to the finals. The Prince of Princes Park is hot favourite for a third Brownlow. And they're stronger with the return of Matthew Cruiser. Andrew Walker is on fire in attack. Eddie Betts, Jeff Garlett are the best pair of crummers in the league. And Irishman Zach Tui is a revelation.
There's his first goal in AFL footy.
The Swans have won 5 of their last 6, and they've carved a reputation for cutting noblemen down to size. But today, the King and his heirs are on a mission to announce themselves fit to rule over this AFL competition.
Sunday football, it's the Blues and the Swans. Both these clubs have won their last 3 games, and obviously Tim Watson, they're pushing for a place in the top 4, the Swans, and this is an absolutely pivotal game for them.
It is, Dennis. They need a big scalp, and Carlton would be a big scalp, and that would legitimise their chances of being a top 4 side.
Swans just the one change, very important one though. Shane Mumford comes back into their lineup. CB best on ground last week will start on the bench.
Well, Mumford is one of those blood and guts type players. They love the way that he participates, and it's going to be one of the great battles of this game, him matching up against Cruiser this afternoon.
And ditto for Carlton, the one change. Ryan Houlihan is back after injury, a long-term injury, replaces the unlucky Paul Bauer.
Very hard to break your way into this team. They've been playing so well, and they've got a great depth of talent. I think the big question today is, can they hold Chris Judd? We know last time they met up there at the SCG, they just couldn't hold him. Kieran Jack got injured. We know he's back in the side now, Kieran Jack, but he's not 100% fit yet. So what do they do? Do they send him to Judd, or do they try a number of players throughout the course of the afternoon on him?
So we're underway on a Sunday afternoon. Sydney looking to push up. Tap. Kick inside the forward 50. Henderson in trouble, taken down Hampson. It'll be a free kick, and it's going to Sydney.
Good clearance in from Mitch Robinson. He's become a really important player to their midfield.
Kennelly short to Bolton. McVeigh across the ground. CB tracks it out there. On the assist is Bird. Judd gets to him, pushes him across the line, and the ball spills out. 2 old teammates there, CB and Judd, as we go down to Richo.
Well, Dan, you just talked about the roof, and I spoke to the AFL and asked them why the roof was off. They said there's only a 10% chance of rain. They only put the roof on if there's a 20% chance, but there's a 100% chance I'm going to be filthy if it does rain.
I'm praying for rain.
Good on you, Richo. So it won't be as bad as last week in Sydney, that is for sure. Jamison out wide. Tim talked about him. Gee, he really has been a big improver over the last couple of seasons. The knock on Carlton for a while was their defence, but they've been a tough team to score against this year. Hampson, Walker, so much productivity from him up forward with his 30 goals. Cruiser read it beautifully and then kicks it poorly. It eases in from behind.
Gee, that's great to see a big ruckman being able to rove a pack like that. They move the ball really crisply from one end of the ground, then Carlton. That's a hallmark of the way they play.
And back come the Swans quickly as well. Hanbury gets it from Johnson, kicks down towards half forward. In the back, surely Reid will get a free kick. Reid very good as the game went on last week.
Play on, not 15. Play
not 15. O'Keefe back to Reid. Goes across the body this time, down towards the pocket. Coming up on the lead is Goods, and he takes the mark on his chest.
And Dennis, as that play started to evolve at half forward, or the wing position, Goods, who had started centre half forward, took Jamison really deep. So maybe that's where they think he's a little bit susceptible. When they can get him on a long lead, Goods can come out of the goal square.
Just talking about Reid, big second quarter against the Tigers. Could have finished with 5 goals, instead 2-5 for the afternoon. But a player to watch as we watch Goods, and this one is working back nicely. It's a goal. Opening goal of the afternoon, margin 5 points.
That's going to be a really interesting matchup this afternoon. Just watch this play build, There's O'Keefe. Just get the handball off quickly, and Reid, who's a really smart young player, got the NAB Rising Star nomination during the week, and Goods coming out and just marking that comfortably on his chest, and that battle there will go a long way to deciding this game.
Well, fantastic start for Adam Goods. Bryce Gibbs actually started on him. That's a matchup we probably thought he would get. Jamison started on Reid, but they made the switch pretty early. Goods, he's got that first one on Jamison's terrific start.
He only had 13 disposals in Sydney against Gibbs too. Gibbs did a great job on that Friday night. And Goods 8 goals, 15 from set shots this year. Before that one, Judd just sawed it out. It was like a torpedo. And now Bolton's kick forward. Roberts Thompson, strong mark on Thornton. They're both a bit ambidextrous, those two. Thornton has gone forward this year and kicked 4 goals in a match. McGlynn on the up. Well done by Jack. Needs a good bounce and gets it. It's a goal. They've got 2. Jack in the box, eh?
That's a great call, Macca. He's such an energetic, important player, isn't he, to the Sydney Swans, Kieran Jack, and they've just been able to find themselves a little bit of space. There's the build-up again, a knock down to the front. They're so good at playing the angles, the Sydney Swans, and doing the percentage thing at all times, and luck went their way on this occasion. There's McGlynn, who's become a very important player to their forward setup too. Kicked the most goals for Sydney this year. Here it is again, McGlynn at the foot of that pack there, and a lucky kick in the end by Kieran Jack. But they do the percentage things, and that's exactly what they did from that centre bounce then. Even the first kick from Bolt that sent the ball forward.
Good bounce back in the middle. One down by Hampson again out of the middle, though it's O'Keefe sending them down towards half forward. The Swans in front, Roberts Thompson on the overlap. McGlynn was pushed in the back, and the umpire virtually too close. The umpire Ryan, was 5 metres away directly in front and missed it. It certainly affected the kick. 2-1 to a behind.
Play on.
This is Russell. So bad luck there for the Swans. Suddenly a goal from a free kick. He still had to kick it, but had he done that, as Russell's got the football, that would have been some start. Russell in trouble. Eventually just sends a high ball towards the outer side. Seaby from behind got a fist on it, knocked it down. Roberts Thompson gave it across to Bird. A centering kick. A lot of Carlton players in the air. Jamison was pushed in the back.
By the way, McGlynn 16 goals, 4 from set shots this year, Dan, so he would have been, you'd have liked his chances, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
The Goods out of position there. Out wide. You talked about Don King setting up Friday night. I reckon Don King would be happy with this. 2 goals to none. Swans in front. This is a perfect setup for this match.
He's still getting over Friday night, unfortunately, though, Don. I think he's in traction.
Is his hair still standing up?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Like Tui's. Tui's got the stand up here, too.
Looking forward to seeing him play today. So,
Looking forward to seeing it.
Irishman on both sides. We know the other bloke's got a bit of form, don't we, over the stretch. Judd, well done. And that's a clever kick in the end by Carazzo coming forward. Rather, it was Curnow coming forward. And now Grundy. And Grundy's kick to Smith. Smith and Shaw going to be vital today because of the quick Carlton forwards. The Garlett bet situation. Smith unloads with a long one. Goods on a big lead. Waited for the bounce. Jamison read it well. And then Goods puts the tackle on Yarran and throws him away. And a great handball to Matner. And Matner goes slowly. Reid. Oh, it was too much for Goods in the end. They made a meal of something they should have slammed home for a goal. And it's a boundary throw in.
Gee, they've been good with their pressure all around the ground, though, in the early part, haven't they, Sydney?
Yeah.
It's been one of the hallmarks of Carlton side, Dennis, to be able to clear the ball and get some clean, crisp ball from half-back, but they haven't been able to move.
Reid made the right decision. The man behind him was subsequently covered, and he had the vision to spot that, but it was too slick to Adam Goods, who was storming through. So the idea was right, the execution, well, enthusiastic. So bounce about 25 metres out from goal. Sydney off to a fast start. They lead by 12. Danger there as Seaby almost into the waiting arms of McVeigh. Bird is dragged down. In goes Kennedy. On top of him, Judd and Hampson.
Let him up,
And
guys. Let him
underneath
up.
Ellard, and we'll have a ball up.
Gee, there's been some good matchups already in the early part of this game. It's going to be a tight contest played right throughout the game like this. Ellard has gone to Kennedy, who's a very important player for Sydney around the stoppages.
CB knocks it down, stolen by Murphy, heads for the boundary line. McVeigh came across strongly on Ellard. Ellard will get the free kick. Richo?
Yeah, Timmy's talking about matchups. Another one to watch is McVeigh and Murphy. Hard tag going on there on Murphy, but McVeigh's pushing forward hard to make him accountable.
So there's so much to delight in today, and that one, Jack did well. Malcheski, a low handball to Kennedy. Oh, Good's a very clever handball. Malcheski gets a bit on this. Thornton belts it away, a dangerous spot. Kennedy's backtrack. Kennelly, it was a tight little handball. Bolton, and then Bolton slung, and the Carlton have done well here. They've got the ball outside the 50. Kennelly, oh, that is a wonderful pickup. That is brilliant. One-handed under pressure, and then two bounces, and then a little handball to himself. He must have done that in the backyard. Well played. Gets the ball across to Carazzo. It was Yaron who was just delightful. I almost said delicious, but I couldn't bear to say that. Here's Cruiser.
You say it if you want to, Bruce. Cruiser's got it. Yaron just lobs it over the top. Carazzo had to wait. Smith was bearing down. Contact was made, but Carazzo hung on. Now Robinson, in the best form of his career, takes off, runs inside the centre square, goes right across the ground. Dangerous kick, well executed. The mark is taken out there by Jamison. Jamison going backwards, that makes it a difficult kick. It bounces in front of Walker. Well, Walker's still in possession. Wow, that's an interesting one, but Walker will get the free kick. He was finessing with the football. Did he take it initially? Obviously not. There's Gibbs, forward of the wing. Usually very good with the ball in his hands, but he kicked into a crowd. Seaby. Awkward one for the Sydney selectors. Mumford earned the spot as the number one ruckman, but Seaby, a dominating performance last week against the Tigers. So Mumford back in the side today, but starts on the bench. To the outer side, Roberts-Thompson.
Good kick. It's the first time, Dennis, they've actually been in the same team together since round one, and Seaby was the sub that day, so it is new ground for them to play the two of them. As you said, Seaby with career high last week against the Tigers. He just forced his way in the team, didn't he?
Yes, and we found employment for him last week.
And perhaps that kept him in the team.
And Bruce, you mentioned about Smith and Shaw off half-back for Sydney. In a tight game like this, the half-backs at the other end of the ground are going to be important too, and Yaron and Gibbs.
Carazzo is being held. Andrew Carazzo. Carlton free kick. Back to Andrew Carazzo.
Saw a lot of this Friday night, didn't we?
But this is being played on Sydney's terms now. This is exactly how they like to play their football. Carlton would have known that coming into this game. There's going to be 40 in the trenches. They were good at the SCG early in the year.
Carazzo's had a big month. He's been averaging over 26 disposals. Young Johnson, that was danger, but Grundy took the mark. It's a good kick by Grundy. It sits for Bird. Measured, slowish kick, Bolton. Dygan.
Just got there too slow.
Bolton just saying, just a bit lower. Let me run into it, not wait for it.
That's great play from Dygan then to come off his man to go and affect the spoil. They work well for each other, Carlton. I reckon it's been one of their great improvements this season.
He's talking with Tom Harley at half-time, Dygan. Looking forward to that. Two ex-Norwood boys together. Murphy,
Simpson, Robinson. Russell on the wing. Goes down towards half-forward. In front, Richards. Having a good season. Did a good job last week on Jack Revolt.
And that's a good battle too, Dennis. Him and Walker this afternoon.
Across the ground he goes. Young Johnson making an impression. They needed a tall defender, and he's popped up as he goes wide. Now O'Keefe needs to run. Awkward bounce on the outer side for McGlynn. Well, Yaron, there was real danger there. Had the ball been won by McGlynn, as it was, Yaron onto the chest of Betts. Betts goes down towards right half forward. Reaching over the top, Smith. Getting the crumb though was Walker. Read it off hands beautifully. Well done, Kennelly. Knocked it forward. O'Keefe feeds it back. McVeigh's got it. Now an opportunity for Shaw. Mumford's on the ground. Seaby is on the forward line. Could be on the end of this football. It comes from Kennedy. Over his head. Slapped out of there by Thornton. Goods does brilliantly. Got in front of Jamison. Knocked it down to McGlynn. McGlynn weaving. Jamison doing well. McGlynn across the body. Well done by Hampson.
What have you got for us, Richo?
Yeah, Den just picked it up in the call. Mark Seaby's gone to full forward, but they're definitely trying to stretch Carlton in the air down there with Adam Goods and Sam Reid, and LRT's floated down there a couple of times as well, so trying to get an advantage in the air.
And he's been picked up by Yaron now too, Richo. That's a good point.
And that sun shining brightly too, so high marks be pretty interesting with the high ball in. Judd very good, but oh gee, just as good. Hanbury, Tui under pressure. Was he held on to? He backed himself there too. He did well. To Simpson on the up. Good stuff to Russell. Back they go, and Ellard had it slapped away by Malcheski.
LRT now really should recognise that it's he up against Yaron. He should push to the goal square and they should isolate him.
So the Swans squeezing the Blues early.
Mumford knocks it down. O'Keefe's beaten everything, including this tackle. Down he goes. And a ball up about 40 metres from goal. So O'Keefe, 3 possessions, but certainly is putting himself about. Mumford out of a crouch. Hampson. Mumford wins it. Goods. Hard to stop him in that mood coming through, but Ellard did brilliantly. Ellard, well, wasn't quite on the same page as Simpson. It's out of bounds, so a throw in.
Straight up there.
Massive crowd here. The all-time record is 45,000 between these two teams in 1934. Now Chesky.
Disposed legally. Advantage.
Heard the umpire, so disposed illegally. The advantage to Judd, but he was under pressure. Roberts Thompson's got it. What an interesting player he's become, Tim. I mean, a sort of a dour defender that they're forced to switch forward because of injury, and he's done a job, hasn't he, as a defensive forward?
I don't think it's just injury. I think it's the fact that they've had a lack of marking power in their forward line. They've really been trying to reconfigurate their forward line all season, trying to get a winning combination of players. They only average around the 12 goals a game.
What a terribly timed interchange that is. Seaby running off the ground at the moment, and they're taking a shot at goal. Can't believe that, Tim.
So Craig Bird, 45 metres out. And
oh, Seaby knew.
Yep. He knows it all at the moment. He can do no wrong. Give him a stat. It's a goal for Bird.
Well, this has been a great start by Sydney. Richo talked about the matchups, and there are some terrific matchups in the midfield, and they've been able to move the ball, Sydney. The great thing about them, though, is they've been able to stop Carlton from moving the ball as effectively as what they would like to move the ball, and that's been one of the great improvements in their game. They're one of the high disposal sides in the competition. They're also one of the accurate sides in the competition, so a real win to Sydney in the early part of this game.
The profile of Stephen Kernahan. He's got a feel for those cameras, immediately full profile. What a great player he was.
Brilliant he was.
Wasn't he? Not the greatest kick in the world, but gee, everything else sensational. Still back in the middle. Kennelly goes after it. Side foots it forward. Not his intention. It went Carlton's way. Opportunity wide of the pack for Bolton. Wanted it more there. Well done by McVeigh. Tried to get it across to Hanbury. He was upended. Judd tries to back out of the pack. 2 men go with him, Bird and Malcheski. And the ball up. So midway through the term, and Sydney have got the flyer. They're up by 18 points.
Walker gone to full forward. One
with Richards, eh?
Yes.
Cruiser, well done to Betts. And then Betts gets a little bit on that. And here is Walker. He's outnumbered, but he does well. He brings them all down. And then Richards gets up and belts it over the line.
It was Heath Grundy, I think, that drift back from that stoppage then to make it a 2-on-1 in the goal square. They are such an organised, disciplined defence, Sydney.
So Malcheski, just every time I see him, how remarkable he is with the last treatment. I mean, he ended up playing half of that season in 08 when he had the pre-season one, and now he's back playing his 5th consecutive game here. Now Hampson to Betts. It's a floaty kick, but it's all right. And Simpson's in not too bad a spot. He uses Cruiser. He played 100 minutes last week, Cruiser, which is a great start.
Extraordinary, isn't it?
Just back around.
I think Neil Young said it best, though. Russ never sleeps. Mumford should have marked that ball.
Yeah, he's a little. You're right. He's missed a couple of weeks, and
Yeah. Watch this.
last year he would have marked it, Dennis.
Has to mark that, and as a result, it's a kick at goal.
So Cruiser the beneficiary, and the Blues need it. So the big guy from about 40 metres out, he's a good kick. He's always been a good kick. A reliable shot for goal. They get their first.
Well, the fans love him, the players do too. When he was out of the side, so many of them were talking about the fact that they couldn't wait to get him back into the side. But that's a drop mark that Dennis was talking about. Hampson, who's been good on the ground. And then that's what Carlton do so well. They maintain possession of the ball, smart use of the ball to Simpson, and then just spotting up Cruiser at centre-half forward. And Sydney, who've been so good defensively at the kick-in, just sort of found some space, Carlton, and that's when you can disrupt the opposition.
Sky above Etihad Stadium with the roof open. 20% chance of rain. I would have thought that was enough. Still, they've left it open. Someone's really got to be in their bonnet at the AFL about having that roof open. Much nicer in here when it's closed. Robinson out of the middle, down inside the forward 50. Sliding in Shaw, reaching over the top was Bet. Spills across to Simpson. Jams it on the boot. Richards leads back in the race. Needed to mark it, and he did. That's when you back your skills. If he spilled it, he was gone. If he didn't reach it, he was gone. Well, not the best kick coming out, though. Curnow, like him a lot. Not a good kick. It wanders down towards Murphy. Decides to take Kennelly on. Kennelly right there with him. Was that a free kick? It was for high. He got this second one. It wasn't the hold. It was the bump to the head.
There's a great article on him in the paper today. Just see that bump again, just talking about how rounded his game has become, Dennis, and how much better he's become as a defensive player and an inside player. And how quick he is too. Mark Riley was just talking about that, one of their assistant coaches, about how quick he runs, not just in a straight line, but laterally. Makes him difficult to tag.
The angle will open up for a right footer here. It's on the way. It's nice. And suddenly they're right back in it, Carlton.
And it was the interception there of Curnow, who just sat back and waited for Richards to try and kick that long ball up the wing. He was able to intercept that. And then Murphy, who's had real trouble finding some space, he's been matched up against McVeigh, and he found a little bit of space in the forward line. But that's what you want your midfielders doing, being able to push forward at different stages of the game and kick goals.
He's kicked 6 goals in his last 5 games, Murphy. That's the one thing you'd love him to average over a goal a game. He's not quite there in his career, but he will be. I mean, he's the complete package just about. Gee, O'Keefe came in pretty recklessly there.
Yeah, he did.
So he might have a nervous Monday morning. Bolton to McVeigh. Hanbury on the wrong side for him, and he quickly conceded some ground. Now Shaw has been very, very good. Long ball, he asks a lot of Jack, but Thornton went went early to I should say, and now Dygan to Cruiser. Well played to Curnow. That's a good kick, Scotland. Terrific stuff by the young fella Johnson. And now Kennelly. Oh, gee, don't know where it came from, but somewhere out of Ireland, I think. But it worked all right in the end. How dare I query the Irish, eh? It was a little like a little toe poke, wasn't it? Toe poke with the ball in hand. Good play, young Johnson. Belts it to centre wing. Reid made the spoil, and speaking of the Irish too, he belts it off the ground. Shaw quickly on to Henderson, disputable. That looked high. It is high.
Bring it back, high.
All falling into place for the Blues now. Scotland sends it in again. Walker opts out of the contest, fisted away by Kennelly. Standing in front was O'Keefe, dragged down Cruiser, Walker. Ellard got 2 last week. Puts it through.
It was a good call, Dennis. In the last couple of minutes, Carlton's ability to win the one-on-one contest, to get more numbers around the ball, to win the ball in these tight situations. There's Betts just ferreting the ball out, and the players who are smart enough to get on the inside or the outside and finish that off.
It's just that mark on the outer side. I hate to zero in on Mumford's missed mark, but it just opened the floodgates, didn't it? You had them where you wanted them.
It did. Just watch this again, and that's smart play there by Betts, and that's where their ground level players have really come into the game in the last couple of minutes for Carlton.
They're great at putting pressure on the opponents, aren't they? Been very successful in that area of the game all year. So So the wheel has turned pretty quickly.
It's been the great improvement in their play. In the past, they were known as one-way type players, and they've been able to get that right balance now between attack and defence, and consequently they've become one of the better sides.
So Seaby and Cruiser, Judd very close in, and a couple of Swans bring down the...
He's only had 5 touches, Judd, but I'd love to know how many times he's actually touched the ball in this first quarter. They've been able to wrap him up, and that's what you try and do with Judd to reduce his effectiveness, stop him from being able to actually shoot that handball out, but he works hard inside. 4
of the 5 are contested, Tim, and there'll be some others, as you say, that he hasn't been able to dispose of it, but he's first contacted. He's the first port of call for the footy, isn't he?
He is, and that's why he's so hard to tag, because he works as hard inside as any player, and he is strong. He can stand up in a tackle and still get rid of the ball, and that's one of the areas of concentration for Bird.
Cruiser decided to push it forward, and then Smith off a step. Dygan underneath it, did well against Bolton there, and then he dropped it down. No free kick, probably just got a boot. Russell, good tackle by Bolton. Cruiser in hard. He was in hard on Hanbury, and Reed can't quite break the tackle. The Blues are fierce at the moment, and then so are the Swans. Hanbury did well on Tui, hooks it back. Now this bounce is important. Goods there, puts the pressure on Thornton, and molests him to the ground.
Oh, this is what they love about this big fella. They say that he loves the unsexy stuff. Look at that. I mean, that is just a great clash between him and Hanbury. Both of them got up and walked away from that.
Bounce just in the shadows, down towards right full forward for Sydney. Seaby directs it down nicely. Getting free is Kennedy. High ball towards full forward, in best position Russell. So Russell takes the mark and just lobs it into the path of Gibbs, who stretches, wants to draw a man and then use his teammate Yaron. No. Some indecision from Gibbs now. On the lead, though, the mark is taken by Walker, having to stretch for it. Now he uses Yaron. Half volley, though. Yaron, the one bounce, runs to the wing, kicks to half forward. In front, McVeigh. Lays it off. Kennelly, Grundy. Confronted by Murphy. You need to be careful with a player like Murphy. McVeigh and Johnson. Johnson to Grundy. Grundy looks to the outer side. Matner breaks hard for him and takes the mark just inside the boundary line. Now Hanbury takes off, but it goes short. Richards trying to improvise there. Ellard does well. Got his little body in front. Dragged down by Richards. Whistle. Ball up.
It's the Swans now that don't have any time and space, isn't it?
That's true, and when they go forward, they haven't been able to hit targets, so they're getting rebounded against.
Leg speed, Tim, could be an important factor today.
There is again.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does, Judd. Okay, he went that time, but he forces the ball forward.
He creates momentum, doesn't he? Even without getting a possession, he creates momentum at a stoppage.
Well, spillage off Judd will become a stat, maybe, because there's a lot of force forward stuff by the champ.
Should have opened him up here.
So Johnson now got to use it. He just a bit lazy in the end, and now puts this in dispute. That's poor footy by the Swans. That really is. I mean, earlier today Johnson missed O'Keefe when he should have gone to O'Keefe, and this is a big turnover. That should have worked. Gee, that's Bird going down. Anyway, a chance lost for the Swans.
They're going to be cleaner.
Boundary throw in. Mumford. There's Judd again, playing his 20th game against Sydney, the most by him against any club. And that goes back to that great rivalry between West Coast and Sydney. Across the 50. Oh, well done. See, this guy can play, Dygan. Yaron. Dygan, mature age player from South Australia. You wonder how many more are out there. Walker on the outer side. Virtually with his son, meets the shade. Kicks beyond the wing. Runs free at the back. Scotland, he's become a fine player. The finish not there that time, and usually that's his forte. 3 on 2. Sydney have got the numbers and they need them. Sure, under pressure. Went back to O'Keefe. Over the top it comes. Grundy right on the defensive 50. Some indecision, kept his head. Although the kick is not a good one. Russell takes the mark onto Yaron.
And then Yaron beautifully kicks to Cruiser. And then Cruiser's got a couple of shorties if he wants them. And now he uses the run of Yaron. And then Yaron goes to the pocket with a beautifully weighted kick. And Simpson, well, he did everything, really, and then got a push in the back. Oh, And now Johnson under the arm puts it out. Kennelly's interesting. Kennelly, I reckon his GPS tracker's not working. I mean, he's 3 or 4 times he's put blokes under so much pressure. Anyway, a bit stiff there, Simpson.
They've just become really untidy, haven't they, Sydney? The pressure from Carlton's gone up and they haven't been able to handle it.
Sydney free kick.
Well, that's a bit of relief, so Mummy will get a kick.
Getting free players from these situations is difficult for Sydney.
I reckon the Swans right now would think they're playing Collingwood with the sort of intensity Carlton are putting on them.
I think you can change games, Bruce, if we're talking about Kennelly, but you can't go back and then change again. That's what confuses you. Gibbs has got the ball down at left half back. Carlton looking terrific now. And Gibbs always does. Dygan, Jamison. Suddenly there's poise about their game. They were rattled early. Long ball. Hampson. Grundy thought about coming, elected not to. He's got his hands full with Cruiser. This is Walker. Cruiser is on in the middle. Walker spots him now, goes to him. Well, Grundy peeled off that time. One of those situations. Speed did him in. Walker had the speed on a teammate. And as a result, Grundy decided he would come. It's about here. Grundy peels off. Cruiser drops back. Takes the mark.
He's been outstanding, Walker, the way he's been playing in this first quarter.
And Cruiser seems like such a nice young man. We wish him well. Great to see him back. Second game. Slots it through. He's got his second.
And that really started at half-back when they organised themselves so Gibbs became the player that went up, took the mark, and then they were able to move the ball down the wing. And really, Sydney weren't smart enough or quick enough, or didn't have the leg speed, probably, to be able to stop the outlet players that Carlton had created. He's been very good, Cruiser, in this first quarter. So too has Hampson. His athleticism is really troubling both the Sydney Swans big men.
Well, Warnock waiting in the wings. Jacobs, of course, at Adelaide. I mean, they've had some big guys, haven't they? A lot talked about Cruiser. Could he come in halfway through the season and make a difference? Could he elevate Carlton to a serious contender? Well, he's doing a pretty good job in his second game, isn't he? What a terrific turnaround. Free kick to the Swans.
Sydney free kick.
So Kennedy, who had a great game in Sydney, he had heaps of the ball, 28 against the Blues, including 19 contested. Kicks the ball inside the 50 again, not getting the target. So much of goods there and then out of play.
Well, Sydney's forward line doesn't look anywhere near as damaging or as dangerous as what the Carlton forward line does at the other end, where they've got 3 tall marking targets and then they've got Walker pushing up the ground and the 2 small blokes at ground level.
Well, you just think that Garlett and Walker and Betts have been the big goal kickers, and only McGlynn really for the Swans, so their forward line's been a problem all year, hasn't it? And it's been exposed here. Hence Lewis Roberts-Thompson's new role. So Robinson in career best form to Walker.
Well, Sydney have to keep this to about a 12-goal, 11-goal game to win.
Well, what a great first quarter.
Second term, Etihad Stadium on a Sunday afternoon under partly cloudy skies. Seaby was up high. Hampson stayed on his feet, bullocking through. Hampson does brilliantly. Missed the target though. Kennelly, McVeigh. Kick forward by Matner towards half forward. Reid came hard. Spillage comes to Gibbs. Swings it out wide. Favoured by the kick at the back there is Smith. Knocked it down to his own advantage. Puts it out of bounds on the full.
Zach, yours.
This is interesting. Zach Tui's got the footy. 20 possessions last week. He doesn't kick the ball like an Irishman. No criticism intended, but he looks so natural with the football in his hands. Here's Russell after the little chip, barely 15, came from Carazzo.
Thank you.
So Russell back at the interchange gates. His side up by 7 points. Early going second term. Big crowd. Great atmosphere about this game as Russell drives it inside the forward 50. Hampson came hard. Standing his ground in front. O'Keefe did well.
He's a hard nut, isn't he, O'Keefe? Because he took a hard bump there. Goods, the ball just not bouncing for him right at the moment. He had a spectacular start. Scotland to Murphy. 45 metres out. Oh, that is supreme.
That was just a beautiful finish in from Murphy. And McVeigh was near him, but he just burned him off. We talked about his pace in the first quarter, his ability to accelerate. And you'll see the build-up of this play. There's Gibbs. He just hangs onto the ball, draws the Sydney play, gets the one over the top. And then just Murphy just burning McVeigh off, left him in his wake. And impressive, too, with the finish. And that's exactly what you want to see your midfielders do. Again, just a kick in hope from Sydney out of a contested area. Here's that build-up again. Scotland featuring. He's had a wonderful season too. And McVeigh just being burnt off there by Murphy.
Coach seems reasonably happy with proceedings, and why not? They're stringing the goals together at the moment. Curnow. Kick inside the forward line from Robinson. Over the football is Richards. That ball slow to release. Eventually it rolls in the direction of Kennedy. Russell head down over it for Carlton. Yaron falls backwards, and the umpire found the wind to blow the whistle.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gee, they're getting on top now around the clearances, Carlton, and their ability to spread, Dennis, quickly from those scrimmages.
If Carlton get another goal here, it sounds crazy, I know, but I think Sydney have made a mistake with their sub, and you'd be inclined to maybe think about getting the sub on with nobody injured. Robinson singing his praises, kicks the goal. Choose your poison, eh? Lose here or lose later, Tim, I reckon. Get some speed out there.
Well, and the thing that's really troubling for John Longmire now in the coach's box is that that's one area of the game that they really pride themselves on, Sydney, their ability to be able to lock down around stoppages and clearances and get their fair share of the ball. But Carlton are just taking control. This bloke is such an energetic type of player. He's not always tidy with his finish, but that was excellent.
Talk about an opportunist goal. This was brilliant by Robinson.
Well, he's averaged 26 possessions in the last 4 weeks, Robinson, and 12 of those contested and 13 uncontested. So that tells you that he's got the ability to work inside the contest, but he's got the ability to work outside as well. That's great balance.
The only team to really get hold of the Swans this year are the Hawks after half-time in Sydney, but right now, Carlton have got hold of them, haven't they? Yep. They've kicked the last 6, the Blues, and I like the way Dennis is thinking. I mean,
Just threw it up, Ted Richards.
so everything going against the Swans. I mean, the sub, I guess there's a golden rule in the box. You don't bring them on until after half-time. How flexible can you be with them? But, gee, Jetta streaming down the wing right now. It'd look pretty good, I reckon, for the Swans.
Well, you've got 2 ruckmen. I mean, you just make a call, don't you? That's not going to harm you that much down the track. Not ideal, but...
But a coach is prepared to make the call at this stage of a match with the sub rule. Not
It's
sure.
an early call, isn't it?
It is, very.
It's another intriguing tactic surrounding the 22nd man. Robinson's little kick. Smith. So they've got their backs to the wall, the Swans. They've done that in the past and got out of it, but they're suddenly a long, long way back. Gibbs just caressed the football to Thornton, who did something similar, and the gaps just keep on opening up here. Carazzo comes inside, just buys some time and gets the ball to Yaron. And then Yaron delivers brilliantly to Walker.
They are looking good, aren't they?
Yeah.
I reckon they have, and I don't want to go too early on this, but I reckon they have got the capacity still, Carlton, to improve as much as any side in the competition. And this time last year, we weren't talking about Collingwood being the premiership side either.
One more. Thank you. That's good.
They're perfectly placed, you feel, to have a real challenge in the second half of the year to Collingwood and Geelong.
They've got great balance in the way they play. And great depth in their midfield.
He's been good from set shots, as you can see. Now, this will test him. But he's so confident in everything he does at the moment, Walker. And that one, not quite. It's a behind. Let's go down to Matthew Richardson.
Yeah, one thing that's really noticeable at ground level, and you guys have been talking about it, is the pace of Carlton on the spread, and it was really illustrated in that last play. Carazzo spread across to the wing, gets it over to Yaron. We know how quick he is. And then Walker on the lead on Teddy Richards. It's starting to look really dangerous here for the Swans.
So they're being hammered. I don't want to go home with Kennelly tonight. He'll take the wrong turn, I reckon. Back he comes, but he gets away with it. Matner. And now Smith. Down the line, Reid. They need more of that. He's very good, as Dennis said last week, Reid. Out wide to Roberts-Thompson. It's all a little bit of slow motion, though. Jack run down brilliantly by Yaron. What a weapon he is, Yaron. And now Murphy, who just laces it out to Walker, who yet again gets another kick on centre wing. So Walker right in front of us. And down the line.
On the 50 then, big leap at the back, Grundy. That was a great mark. Grundy, a lot of possessions in the opening term. 20 points the margin. Hanbury, at the left half back, looks back towards the defensive goal square. And it goes back to the pocket. Johnson, inexperienced, makes a call, goes long to the opposite side of the ground. In fact, it came from Smith to Johnson. In front, Seaby was pushed in the back.
Well, they stretched them, Dennis, but the only bloke they had going and leading to the ball was Mumford, which is probably not the bloke you want the ball in the hands of if you really want to try and get a fast break.
And you've got the youngsters making the call back there. Initially Smith and Johnson.
Oh, no, another kick.
That was Smith into the path there of Hanbury, trying to find a way through, lays it off. Richards, back to Hanbury, back to Richards, needs a kick now. Goes with the left boot. Cruiser, outstanding in the first term. 2 goals, 8 possessions. What a bonus. Halfway through the season, a player like Cruiser comes back to your team. Walker surprises his fans, going back deep to Thornton.
Now Scotland re-signed for a year, didn't he, this week? So Scotland re-signed for a year, and I think Carazzo for another 2 years. Walker again.
He's up to 7 marks now, Walker. He's playing almost a midfield type role as a forward.
They're teasing them a bit here, Carlton, aren't they? They are such a good kicking team too, Tim, don't they? They find a lot of... There you go. There you go.
Well, they're actually the best in the competition.
They were until a moment ago.
At moving the ball from the defensive 50 into their attacking 50. So they've got really good form in that area.
So Mumford's kick to half forward. Jack does well, and then that's a neat kick by Jack to Goods. Gives him a chance. Almost.
What are the closing speed then on Jamison?
Down to you, Richo.
Yeah, Jeffy Gartlett hasn't touched the ball yet today. He just came off the ground. They put him back on 30 seconds later, and it's because of the job Reece Shaw's doing. They tried to shake the tag on off. Reece came straight back on with him. Great effort by Reece Shaw today.
Roberts-Thompson slaps it down in front. Bolton, the look away hand pass did well. Hanbury spots someone towards the middle. Malcheski drops the mark. I doubt it was 15 anyway. Malcheski battles after it. The base of the pack there is Gibbs.
And Dennis, I'm just trying to recall the last time they actually set up a goal scoring opportunity, Sydney. You have to go back to early in the first quarter.
First 5 minutes, I reckon.
Straight up.
Just been outrun completely and outthought. Murphy bumped in the back, will get the free kick. That was clumsy by Goods.
You're free, Mark. Play on.
Mark Murphy,
15,
10 possessions now to Gibbs. Always so much time for Gibbs.
Hold there, Sam.
Jamison in the opposite pocket. So Carlton, who conceded the first 3 goals, have got the last 6, and they're in total control now. Carazzo short to Gibbs. Now he might take off up the middle. Thought about it, decided not, as Goods was coming across.
And he's not the player to leave free either if you're Sydney.
No. Drives it out wide, coming up the ground. Robinson just paddles it forward, reading it beautifully. Garlett, which I mentioned a moment ago, hadn't had a touch. Well, he got his first there, missed by Betts. Well done by Grundy. Kennelly gave it across to McVeigh. McVeigh goes in short and finds O'Keefe.
So the one thing they've done, they've stopped Carlton from scoring for a while, haven't they?
Yeah, and they're good at that too. They've just got to try and control the game for a 5-minute period.
Can they find targets here in close quarters? So Bolton, centre wing, then kicks to half forward. Oh, Goods. Probably unrealistic a bit, but no free kick. Thornton had it smothered. Simpson got down low. Reed just scooped it up, actually. And again, a stoppage here. Mumford brought to the ground.
That was a throw then.
Yep. So Sydney pushing hard in their 50, but unable to get anything on the scoreboard for the moment.
Straight up. Watch your footy.
So Mumford and Cruiser. Cruiser works in front, wins it decisively. Goods read it well, but left the ball behind.
Play on.
Kennedy trying to give it across to Mumford. Mumford threw the ball.
No, you just threw it up.
The big fella looks out of touch. Cruiser anything but so far.
Robinson's free of the centre, but you probably won't be able to reach him from there.
High ball. Oh, simply too tall, Hampson. Richards trying to give himself a little more space there and edge the big fella under the footy. Nothing doing. Hampson sends it down towards half-forward. Curnow at the back of the pack. Judd is on around the corner. Judd is still sprinting down the ground. Judd will get there now. Whoa! He left it behind. Only watching the horse I backed in the race. Goes out wide. Kennelly tracks it. Will get it from Hanbury perhaps. No, Hanbury decides to go it alone. McGlynn, haven't seen a lot of him. Goods hangs on to one. He's been under enormous pressure.
That's close to their best passage of play all afternoon.
Goods, well, interesting kick. Not sure it wasn't for Reid, but Mumford coming with the flight of it has taken the mark about 40 metres out. Slight angle.
And this is the mark, just here.
But that's unusual for Sydney too, because they had all the out. This is the great defensive effort here from Smith. That was just terrific. And the way they cleared the ball. Generally, Sydney like to move the ball wide. On that occasion, the middle actually opened up for them, and they were able to use that. Their most positive passage of play this afternoon.
So Mumford.
Come around, perfect.
Just having a bootlace problem.
Back on.
Nothing untoward there. Now he is a good kick. Distance won't be a problem. All about accuracy, and my word did they need that. This. To break a sequence of 6 unanswered goals, and he sends it way left, out of bounds on the full.
Just got to take advantage of it, don't they, the Swans? Carlton are just absorbing them at the moment, aren't they? Well, heard the call. It was play untouched. Back to Carazzo, and then crosses the ground to Thornton.
The good thing is, though, they've got the press on here, Sydney, so they should be able to stop Carlton, although they're going to run their way out of this.
Well,
and that handball just didn't quite get the target, Jamieson. Put the pressure on Etihad. Boundary throw in.
Your point before was good, though. In the last sort of 3 or 4 minutes, they've been able to just work their way back in and at least halve the contests around the ground.
Just need a goal team.
Well, they've had real trouble manufacturing one of those.
So Mumford and Hampson and O'Keefe. So good in that area, O'Keefe. They get that quick kick away. Tui.
oh,
He's gone. No. Probably very lucky there. And Kennedy tries to barge through. He did well there, Kennedy, and Bolton forces it on. Has a second crack here, Bolton. And then gets down low. Still Bolton. Can't quite get it clear. Roberts, Thompson. Carlton doing very well there. They match the intensity in the end. But the ball comes to Kennedy. Off a step to fall forward. Goods. He's got it.
Right here.
Bolton, O'Keefe and Kennedy's ability in close there was so important.
It was a great contest, wasn't it? And Carlton looked like they were going to escape. And now Goods has been matched up by Gibbs. Now he's got the height advantage there. I think Jamison's just taken a bit of a spell. Well, no, Jamison's actually in the goal square, so he must have got lost in that contest.
Well, 8 goals, 15 this year at set shots before today. He kicked a goal in the first quarter. If ever they needed Adam Goods to kick one.
it's looking pretty bleak. 39 plays 19. Right now that flatters Sydney. Take out the first 5 minutes. Not that you can do that, of course, but if you did, it's just a one-horse race. Hampson was up very high. Bolton lays it off. Getting back is Grundy. Loops a hand pass back to Bolton. Wonderful pressure came from Curnow. Then he finds the football, Curnow, and is escorted across the boundary line. Throwing out his side.
They're making everything difficult, aren't they, Carlton? Every time Sydney look like they might be able to get a free player, they close them down.
Seaby and Hampson. Hampson too easily takes the front spot. O'Keefe fumbled, controlled it. Bolton hurriedly onto the boot. Wanders down towards the 50. Roberts Thompson's in front. He's claimed. Gets it across to Reid. Around the corner, but across the boundary line before that. It'll be tough being a Sydney Swan because everyone you play wants to match your intensity. It'd never be an easy game. We saw that down there inside the forward 50 moments ago. Trench warfare. O'Keefe in trouble. Now, who's got possession of that umpire? Murphy and O'Keefe.
Have an arm free.
14-minute mark of the first quarter since the Swans have scored, Dennis.
Don't hold.
Amazing, isn't it? And they look so good in the opening minutes of the game, so sharp.
No, you turn your back on him. No, you turn your back on him. On the ball.
Murphy's got the free.
You turn your back on him.
And McVeigh's unhappy.
I got it.
Probably Murphy's law, that.
Oh, there, play on. Hey.
So it's not like they haven't had a shot, the Swans, but they haven't scored. Interesting with Goods, Jamieson and Gibbs doing the flip-flop, depending on where he's standing, basically, isn't it?
Hey.
And that's a dangerous kick, but it's a great mark
There, Ryan.
by Robinson. See, this next goal, if Carlton get it, can you do... All the air's going to go out of the Swans balloon, isn't it? And that takes something to take air out of a Swans balloon, but you feel that it's just going to be a crushing blow if Carlton can get a goal in the next minute or two. The kick to centre wing, pushed underneath at Cruiser. Grundy did well there, Grundy. Kept his cool, then played it down the line. Johnson tried to tap it over Walker. Walker was too smart for that. Johnson harasses him, though, and a boundary throw in.
Where they're at now, Sydney, even though they've been able to hold them in general play, it's not enough to hold them. They've got to be able to score goals as well. They've got to start putting some pressure on the scoreboard. 7.5
minutes out from half-time. Just a terrific day for footy. Cool day in Melbourne. Judd fancies himself as a knock ruckman, beaten by Seaby. Murphy, though, gets the crumb. Well played by Johnson. Gave it to O'Keefe. Kennedy sends it down towards the full forward area. Dished it away. Now a chance for Cruiser. The big guy gets the arms free. Ditto Bolton. O'Keefe in trouble. Well, they're irrepressible at the moment, Carlton. Cruiser gave it to Judd. Sends it towards the outer side wing. Storming back is Grundy. Now plenty of Swans around this football. To Smith. Back it comes to Richards. Now Kennelly. Kennelly's got the football. Well, no conviction in that. He's had his moments today, Ty Kennelly. He took off there with all the confidence of a guy that was on a mafia hit list. He was taking tiny steps leaving the front door.
It's 50.
And now it's a 50.
Against Kennedy.
And that should have been an easy out then for Sydney. They had the players, they had the spread across half-back.
Oh, the indignity. The man wasn't even on the mark. Popped through for a goal by Garland.
I told you, Tim, I don't want to be in that motor car tonight with Ty.
Hasn't had his best afternoon, has he?
Oh.
And getting around that bloke is always going to be difficult too. Maybe Kennelly could have done it a few years ago, but he's such a little terrier, Garlett, and he's so quick too. Wonderful tackle. Here's the 50-metre, and that's Kennedy just going into that protected zone, that 5-metre zone around the player. Just a brain fade then.
And Kennelly, of course, had the opportunity. They had all the numbers, the Swans, didn't they?
Yeah.
So the air's come out of the balloon. The indignity of it all for the Swans, because they'd got their hands on the footy for about 10 minutes. Kennelly, he'll grit his teeth and try and make up for them. Bolton, well, Bolton had a Bolton done on him there. Just a hard tackle and the ball forced out, and then the quick kick away to centre wing. They need to find some magic, Sydney. It's not their style. Jack off the ground to about 50 metres. Reed attacked it well. Needs to give it off. Jack improvised. That was clever. He couldn't take it. He had to force it forward. Seaby couldn't get down low. Thornton wants it out of play, and he gets it.
And Bruce, the other thing that's really hurting Sydney at the moment is they're so worried about the Carlton capacity to move the ball from the stoppages. They're actually sending an extra player to the stoppage, which is allowing Carlton to drop a player back into their defensive part of the ground. So it makes it even more difficult for the forwards.
Cruiser intended for Judd, stolen away by Goods. Look away hand pass Malcheski. It's been a while coming.
Well, he still looks the most likely, doesn't he, in terms of being able to create a goal, Adam Goods, and often this after. Here's the stoppage work again, and there's Goods just being trailed to the ball then. That was it Henderson that actually looked like he was manned up against Goods then, and got completely lost on the wrong side of the contest. So Adam Goods, just a clever play, but they desperately needed that goal. So we see Jetta just starting to warm up.
Yeah, there's Adam Goods setting up that goal for Malcheski. He had just come back onto the ground at that stage, and they were telling him to go onto the ball. He's in the middle of the ground now. They need to try and peg a couple more goals back before half-time to have a chance. Goods might be the man to fire them in there.
Gee, Hampson got up high. Imagine if that goal had been 3 minutes ago before Carlton got theirs. And here he is, Richo, right on cue. And kick to McGlynn. Got it, well done. He ran backwards hard, McGlynn. Goods asked a fair bit of him there, and he provided it.
He asked a lot of them. Just watch this centre bounce again. That's a good tap there from Mumford, because that's to a designated area. But just speed, and he just changes midstream, chooses the right option, and courageous bit of work from McGlynn to go back with the flight.
Asked a moment ago, where does the magic come from? Well, we're seeing it. We're seeing Goods create a couple of chances, haven't we?
They need 3 of him. That's the problem.
Well, he's kicked 16 goals, 4 from set shots, McGlynn. Straight in front. Is it coming back? No, it isn't. So Mumford and Goods and McGlynn have all had sodas, really. I mean, they had that problem last week, but they got away with it, didn't they, in Sydney?
Yeah, well, if you think back to round 6, last time these sides met, as this ball is fumbled across the line, Judd's kick to Scotland, boundary throw in. McGlynn booted 4 of 10 on that wet night. McGlynn goalless last week, and so far goalless again today.
And Goods has created their last 2 goal-scoring opportunities from stoppages.
Hampson doing pretty well in there, that time beaten by Mumford. Judd's over the football. Hasn't got a lot of it, but he's done a lot of hard work, and again attracts a crowd. So 8 possessions for Judd.
You can't really just judge his game, though, can you, Dennis, on possessions alone?
Although it's one of those things, I think, and this is not a criticism, he's aware of too, and invariably, if he's down, you can expect a lift. So that's more bad news for the Swans. Here's Tui. Gets under it as he was slung. Mumford does well. I think most players go in thinking, well, I've had a good day, an average day. I think by his standards, you think average so far. Long ball, dangerous situation. Carlton at least get it out of there momentarily. Simpson threw it on the boot. Goods looking for a free kick for a high tackle. I don't think anyone touched him around the whiskers. Coming through was Etihad. His boot was smothered as well. It ricochets the footy about 20 metres. Down goes Murphy. And Murphy will get the free. Gee, that was hard work. It was a surging swell after the football.
It was just momentum, wasn't it? The force.
Yes.
And I reckon it's one of the great things that Carlton can do now, is they can actually go with the most physical sides and hold their own.
Good point. I mean, you'd show that to anybody and say this is the way they're playing footy. I mean, they swarmed all over the Swans there. Betts kicks the ball to half forward. Henderson has been quiet. No mark paid to O'Keefe. And then Smith. O'Keefe a bit stiff, and then Smith close to the line, and a boundary throw in.
O'Keefe is looking around the umpire with his hands in the air saying, what do you have to do to take a mark?
Take the scoreboard out of the equation. Now, the last 15 minutes, the Swans have done really well.
Yeah, no, they're holding their own.
But they're 3 goals behind against a team that is so confident and has weapons. Cruiser did well. Goods had to get rid of it in a hurry. So did Kennedy. Scotland beautifully done to Simpson, down low. Russell half volley. Carazzo chased. Carazzo well done to Gibbs. Well, that ability to be precise under pressure is a measurement in Aussie football, isn't it? In Aussie rules.
It's just the number of players that they've got there. Midfield power now. Carazzo is a really good player and can get a lot of the ball himself, but he's not even been asked to play one of those roles where he's required to get a lot of the ball. He's a role-type player now, often plays that defensive forward, but still capable of making correct decisions. And then this bloke just reads the play and pushes forward.
This is the sort of shot you love him having, don't you? You feel like he's the skillful player with the beautiful kick that kicks the long set shots.
Well,
there you go.
You've done him in.
I've done well today with the Blues.
unbelievable.
Sydney Swans will be tweeting me at half-time and say, keep that up.
I've rationalised that in the past, though, Bruce. I think it's because people like yourself think like great players.
Thank you.
Those players are thinking the same way, particularly in cricket. Invariably, you gave someone a rap, they got out next ball off hands because they were thinking, gee, I'm going well. You'd say in the broadcast, I'm going well. Well, he's going well. Got a boundary thrown. That was interesting moments ago when Goods got the ball, the impact of Cruiser. He looked up, Cruiser was running at him. He decided, not for me. Here's Cruiser. Hurriedly onto the boot, sends it inside the forward 50, and a good mark is taken down there by Smith. And a few good things in the last few minutes. Just by being there, Cruiser's strength made Goods change his mind. Normally he would have taken that pack on. He realised that Cruiser was there, and Cruiser's a big body, and he doesn't mind contact. That's not to say Goods was trying to avoid contact. It was just that he wouldn't have got through. Here's Kennedy stretching. Malcheski's kick making him work. Kennedy at centre-half back then. 7-4 to 4-2. Comes out wide. O'Keefe just held up by the footy. Took too long to get there. Carrazzo looks inboard. That's an ambitious kick. Getting a fist on it, Malcheski. Back to Bird. Chance for the Swans here. Kennelly laid the hand pass off nicely. He got it from Smith. Driven forward by Bird, but too short. Seaby was lurking at the back. Thornton took the mark. Goes back to Yaron. And Yaron with a lot of space here. Dygan is on. Russell is running hard. Dygan spots Russell. He'll go to him now. Oh, well, sort of. Close to the boundary line. Russell's got the footy. Not their best work. He'll go back to Yaron. No, bypasses him and goes to Robinson. And Robinson, as I said before, would be vying for the most improved player in the competition, I reckon, over the last 2 months. He's playing now like Randy the Ram Robinson. What a great movie that was. Mickey Rourke. Mark is taken by Goods.
He's creating everything for the Swans, isn't he?
He has changed this game for Sydney, and that move of taking him out of the forward line, putting him on the ball, has made a real difference to the way that they've looked.
Again, a big kick tip. Full credit to the Swans. I mean, there's been 5 or 6 moments in this match you felt like they'd be blown out of the water.
They've had that capacity over the years, though, even under Paul Roos, to get their matchups right, find themselves without the momentum and be able to arrest that back, and it's been slow in coming.
Well, Goods to Malcheski's worked once in this quarter. Let's see if it can happen a second time. They need this on half-time. Coming back, nope. So they've just kicked themselves in the shin, the Swans. So I think the blood rule here, but...
Well, if we think back to last week, Bruce, I mean, what was it, 9:21? So not a complete surprise, is it?
No. And the conditions last week were awful in Sydney, and they're not today, but Richmond didn't make them pay for it. They had 10 more scoring shots and won by 10 points.
And they don't create that many scoring opportunities either, Sydney, the way they play. We talked about it earlier, about how they only average, just on 12 goals a game.
Well, that 4 goals 3 does not reflect their bad kicking in this match so far.
No, good point. There's Dygan. Takes something off the footy, going short, intended for Russell, chopping at the arms, the siren sounds. So at half-time, the Blues in a very strong position. They've played better than that scoreboard indicates. Away we go, third term. Goods, as he did close to half-time, digs it out of the middle, but it falls to Gibbs now. This is interesting. They put him on Kennelly, and Kennelly's had a nervous afternoon, but wins the first battle. Their thinking, obviously, is to try and exploit Kennelly. He's prepared to run off, but hasn't looked all that convincing. Fine player over the journey, but this afternoon, they feel that Judd could perhaps get a cheap goal to start this term. Close to the boundary. Murphy, brilliantly done on his way down. Got it across to Scotland, to Russell. And now Yaron, so good in this situation with the ball in hand. A couple of bounces, runs to midfield, just puts it onto the chest of, well, no one. I thought for a moment it was going to get to Cruiser. It was deflected by Mumford. Coming away around the outer side is Bird, sends it down towards half forward. Or was it Johnson? It was Johnson who had the football. Garlett finds a way through to Cruiser. Back come Carlton.
Geez, good kick by Cruiser. He's a long bomber, isn't he? That's a wonderful mark, though, from Richards.
Well, nothing on here.
So Grundy's got to take a chance to Kennelly. He's had a nervous day, but a couple of touches in this quarter have been good. Richards. So they've worked hard to get not far, haven't they? So Johnson. That was Johnson a moment ago. As Dennis said, it was a good bit of play. Just couldn't quite hit the target. That time he does, but again, very short.
This is the way they like to play, though, Sydney. They just inch their way down the ground, and it means that the opposition side has to be really disciplined in the way that they defend.
Hampson in a good spot. Almost held it and kept it in Hanson and gets it to Gibbs, and then Gibbs gets the angle right and belts it to Henderson, who we've seen so little of today. It's a bit of a project for the Blues as Henderson kicks the ball to a one-on-one. Betts and Smith, good contest. And then Johnson did well. He had to do that in the end, and he gets a free kick.
He played that really well, didn't he?
It's a good play.
He had a great feel for the pressure that was around him. Henderson, that was just his second disposal. That's why he got the Bronx cheers.
He was taken 57th in the draft, this kid, Tim. I think in Xavier College, is that right?
Yeah. He looks better than that, doesn't he?
He certainly does look better than that, and Good's working hard and takes the mark.
I don't think he's related to Bob, but I like him. Goods has got the football at right half back. I tell you, he's playing well too, is Hampson.
I married a Johnson, Dennis, but I don't think she's related to Bob either, but I can make it that way if you want me to.
It's your marriage, Bruce. Boundary throw in on the wing.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Off hands, it falls nicely for Hanbury. Goods in trouble. Judd bearing down. Goods got it away to no one in particular. Smith in a tight situation. Hanbury did well. Whipped it out to Grundy. Kennedy drives it down towards half forward. Going back with it, Tui.
Gee, neither side's been able to mount a really effective attack, have they?
No. Tui just lays it off to Thornton. What we need here is a little 1-2. We're going to get... No, we're not going to get it. Drives it out wide. Coming up on the lead, Henderson.
So the cheer's not quite so loud for Henderson this time because he's getting a bit of ball. Bit an up and under, but he gets 50 metres on the kick. Judd's fly, almost. Stretched up. And then Simpson brought down in the tackle by Mumford. Back to Hampson, back to Judd. Good hands to Walker. He's done a lot of his work on the wing today, Walker. Clever little kick, toe poked it forward. Gibbs takes on Grundy, I should say. Now Cruiser, well done, looked up and found Betts. Oh, I reckon we're looking at the missing link here, Tim.
This bloke has acceleration when he gets the ball as well.
And his kicking skills for a 6'7".
Well, he's had more of the ball than any player on the ground now. He's had 16 disposals, 4 tackles and 3 clearances. He's as good as a midfielder.
So Eddie Betts, quietish day, but he's done some good tackling. 7 goals, 4 from set shots. 20 goals for the season so far. What a fine player he's been over the last 3 or 4 years, getting better every year, and they've got the Blues in front of goals like the Swans.
You're uncanny today.
Oh, it's just one of those days.
Hold on, Andrew. Lead on now. Play on.
Short one.
Play on.
Smith bounced in front of him. Grundy, Richards, Kennelly. Having a good term, Kennelly. Here's Johnson on the outer side. Long one towards the wing. Will Thornton fly from the side? He does, and gets a fist on it. Very destructive. Thumps it into the crowd. Interesting, we were joking about the fact that Hanbury came off to talk to Mumford, but he did. He actually stayed off for 20 seconds. I don't think they bothered to replace him. And then he rushed back on, but had a conversation with Mumford. So I've never seen that before. Close to the boundary line, Carazzo, as always, getting a lot of the football. Walker was coming up on a fast lead. Kennelly gets it from Kennedy, running out of space. Well, kept it in play, but to the advantage of Carlton. And the short one comes in, and the mark is taken by Garlett. Carazzo setting it up.
He's had a bad afternoon, hasn't he, Kennelly? See John Longmire there just taking the headset off. This is Kennelly again. Just gets lost in the end. I mean, that ball should have gone down the line, if anything. He just kept it alive and it ended up being an attacking kick.
Garlett comes in and kicks the goal. Even out of bounds on the full's not the worst result if you kick it deep enough. Man up.
There, you're right, Dennis. So it kept the ball alive, and in the end it went into an attacking position here for Carlton. Just watch this play unfold again. There's Kennelly, just goes back, screws the ball back around, but it goes back into play. And the Carlton players just read that so well. Once the kick looked like it was going to one of their players, they just pushed back into the space, and Sydney, who had already moved off their men, were found without a player.
And there's Jetta on the bench, the sub today. You feel like the Swans need to get him into the game pretty soon. He can break the game open. And Ryan Houlihan, first game for the year, just rubbing some grippo on his hands. That might be a sign he's not far away either.
So maybe a change for the Swans could do them some good. Garlett's had 3 kicks today, and 2 of them he's got ready from Kennelly and kicked goals from. He's been the beneficiary of a couple of Irish mistakes today. Cruiser's been outstanding. Look at those numbers. They're midfield, elite midfield numbers, aren't they?
Yep. Hampson limping off the ground too.
Looks the worst for wear, Hampson, so Cruiser will have to do some work. How's that tack? Brilliantly to Judd, who laces it out to Henderson.
That was beautiful. Cruiser, he's just had the unbelievable game.
Well, he's the best man on the ground.
Just watch this again. Just the right up hand, lovely, deft, soft touch then to Judd, who was almost at full pace when he took the ball.
So Henderson, who had the Bronx cheers 10 minutes ago, he's had a couple of disposals since then. He'll get a real cheer if he can kick a goal here. Coming back. It's a goal. Don't you just love that, Tim? Cruiser to Judd. Judd lace out.
Just one of the old crafts of the game, isn't it? To see a ruckman at a stoppage. Just watch this again. Just a beautiful tap to Judd, who was already on his bike. I mean, he got that almost at full pace, unstoppable. And then the perfectly weighted kick to Henderson, who started almost at the top of the square with his lead.
And there's Sean Hampson going downstairs with the doctor. I reckon it's his posterior cruciate. He's got a lot of padding on that knee. It's the ruckman's injury that they get all of the time. I'm not sure if he'll be back. Houlihan getting his hamstrings worked on now on the bench.
Seaby wins it down. Bolton grabbed it. Spills wide. There's Cruiser again after the footy. Still going for the footy. Working it forward is Bird. And there's going to be a free kick. It's going Sydney's way. It'll be taken by Bird. So Craig Bird just goes back inside the centre square. Shaw across the ground to Richards, who pushes up now. Thumps it out wide. Waiting for it, Johnson. He takes off, runs down towards half forward, goes looking for the leading Roberts-Thompson, but the ball runs out of bounds. So the bird is flowing now. That's 32 points.
Just watch Cruiser here contesting the centre bounce. Here he goes. And then just watch the next passage of play. Follows the play up, and then his big body's in the way again. I mean, that is just magnificent from your ruckman.
Well, Seaby, I think, appreciates that Cruiser is better than Andrew Brown. Murphy. Well done by Tuitt.
Yeah, showed some poise, didn't he? And then kicks the ball to centre wing, free kick. Against Shaw.
Hey, Reece, that's dangerous, mate. You run him under the ball like that, it's dangerous.
Heard the umpire. Shaw and Smith have done a good job, really, haven't they?
They have, yeah. No, they have.
Some Garlett, but
I reckon you're helped by the way they Sydney play up the ground, though. There hasn't been that many inside 50s, so they've been starved of opportunities.
Good mark to Matner. Gee, what a centre square force, Tim, with Cruiser at his best now, with Judd and Murphy, and take your pick.
Well, he's just like an extra midfielder.
Hold there, Mitch.
You could play him like Nat Nui, but he's a few paces as a big running crash bash man as well.
In a similar way, yeah. Without the extraordinary athleticism that Nat Nui has.
Kicks it a bit better than Nick. So Houlihan getting ready, and I wonder when Jeddah will come on. Bolton just tumble punts it forward. We've seen a lot of Sydney's forward entries today repelled. They just have not been able to do much with the ball forward. Reid wins a good little battle. Bolton spent it before he got it. He wants the free kick and should have got it. Mumford down low. Well done, Mummy. Hanbury tackle, but he double turns and then hooks it back. McLean coming in hard, but marked by Simpson.
Simpson squares the ball. Gibbs peeling off. Meters in the clear. Runs it up towards the wing. Where's the movement coming from? Henderson might be the shot here. Well, he pulls it back, intended for Walker. It's in no man's land now. Houlihan just on the ground. Immediately tackled, lays it off. Garlett. Good hands. Curnow, the hurried kick. Down towards full forward. Ellard had it knocked away and through for a minor score. Well done by Smith. At 61 plays 28. And Sydney The way they're playing just can't get back from here. Here's one of the shining lights, though. Johnson in the back pocket, close to the boundary line. Carrazzo over the top. His 14 possessions today have been well earned, and he does the things like that, some of the dirty jobs.
Hey, Dennis, when you think that they kicked their first 3 goals in about 5 or 7 minutes of the first quarter, they've only got 4 now. It's almost three-quarter time. It's been a miserable offensive performance.
It's terrible.
So Judd forward, Reed, shonky handball, and then Jack under pressure. Garland, Walker down low. They'll love this.
Andrew Walker deserves that, doesn't he?
He does, absolutely.
He's worked so hard this afternoon. And they just weren't able to clear it again. They've been untidy by hand and by foot this afternoon, Sydney. They've had opportunities, and Carlton just keep coming. That ground level pressure evident again. You know, it was Simpson then who didn't get possession of the ball, but it was him that actually knocked Kieran Jack off the ball then. And that's what they've been prepared to do, Carlton. Work inside and show great ground level pressure.
It's called a team goal, that one, isn't it? Carlton looking really good here. So Kennedy out of the centre. Let's have a look at the Swans' fighting spirit now. They are so far down. Cruiser and Mumford. Yaron just didn't take it cleanly. McGlynn had 1 or 2 shots at goal, but he's had a quiet day. Scotland, Cruiser held up. And then Houlihan on the ground. Goods, toe poke forward by Jack. Always in a contest, Dygan and Reed. Reed just couldn't get a handball away. Butters up, gets it to McGlynn, and McGlynn, well, again, Carlton forcing them wide. Just Reed there had a couple of chances to be clean, didn't he? Just couldn't get the handball. Gave Carlton a sniff at keeping the pressure up. And the Blues are strangling the Swans right now. They have been a hard team to score against all year, Carlton, and well, today is probably the best example.
Murphy goes out very wide in front. Jamison content to take it out of bounds. It's just befuddling the use of Jetta. I mean, the game's lost now.
I think he's getting ready, Dennis, as we speak. I think the green jacket's coming off.
Yeah, well, okay. The leader's green jacket, or is that the yellow jacket? Towards the boundary line, swinging a boot at it. The Sydney Swan. It comes to a teammate in Kennedy, who goes down towards the pocket. Going back, Jamison. And again, he's the master of pushing it out of bounds.
So CB off for Jetta, eh?
Well, that's interesting as well, isn't it? Obviously, Mumford's their man. But one would expect him to tire in the last term. He hasn't played a lot of footy. Out of the congestion. Bounces obligingly for Houlihan. Still John Longmire knows his players a lot better than I do. Comes across towards Gibbs. He got it from Murphy towards the wing. Crashing in out there and doing very well was Henderson. Knocked it across towards Scotland. Curno's in there. Well done, Richards. Flicks it out. Betts is over the football. Betts wins the ball. It was a hard one to win. Henderson out wide. Houlihan. Normally so good with his feet. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, I think, Dennis, that Walker, given the form that he's shown this year, they tried to do a deal with Adelaide and couldn't get the deal done at the end of last season.
Yep.
And he stayed on. He had another year of a contract to play out. But he's become such a vitally important player to their side.
Would he get a game for the Crows?
He'd get a game for any other side in the competition.
So what do we say there? We talk about, or we hear a lot about, list management. That was actually list mismanagement that worked out beautifully. Couldn't get the deal done, get the player, and suddenly he's running fourth in the goal kicking. Second goal in the space of 3 minutes. Walker comes in and puts it through.
Well, he's kicked 32 goals for the season now. He's been their most important forward. And also today, he played a different role earlier because it actually suited the way that Carlton wanted to play today. And he was quite comfortable playing that. He pushed up the ground. He's created that conduit-type player off half-back. He's been quick. He's got a midfield-type mentality to the game. And that's how he came into the game, as a midfielder. So he's got that capacity to push right up the ground and actually work hard too.
Tim, have a look at this injured a moment ago, and have a look at him get up and join the play, and watch what he does here. So he's into it.
That's fantastic to see, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, Ruck, size up.
And as soon as this split here, he just ran into that space. You'll see him in the back here with a Houlihan kick over the back.
It's good stuff, isn't it? So
Great stuff.
11 goals to 4. We're seeing a really good footy team here. Shaw couldn't quite.
Holding the ball, Carlton, advantage.
So Carazzo with the ball. And well done, Matner. Carazzo, Murphy, Yaron. And then Yaron beautifully to Simpson. So, Tim, right now, they're tough, they're skillful, and they're quick. It's the big three, aren't they?
And they're talented too.
So, Betts, now Simpson might go all the way here. Goes to full forward. Walker brings it down. Henderson gives it to Judd. And then Judd gives it across. They've got another one. Etihad gets his second.
Well, they've blown this game wide open now. And Sydney, who've been hanging on for so much of this game, are just unable to stop this juggernaut. And Henderson, who was so quiet for a half of this game too, has really come into play in this third term.
When you see them play like this, you feel like you want to barrack for Carlton, don't you? Do you feel like that as an old Essendon man, you want to barrack for Carlton today?
Unfortunately not. I enjoy watching Carlton play, but it hasn't pushed me to the point where I actually want to start barracking for him.
Oh, the old bomber coming out at him, eh?
I think they are a genuine threat at the point end of the season, though.
David Ellard, 2 goals and 20 possessions last week against Brisbane. Another couple of goals today, cementing his place in this side. Does it all. Out of the middle, McVeigh inside the forward 50. Lamentable performance now by Sydney. It's in perspective now. As we said, those early goals, take those away, nothing. Yaron, even the tackle's not sticking, and generally they do. The long kick out of defence from Tui, the big leap from Walker. Head down Henderson. Gives it across towards a teammate in Garland. Back to Walker. Can he kick another one? He's been a 2 in this term. Betts is coming. He's wide of the mark. Betts and Smith chase it back towards the goal square. Smith has got the footy. Betts has got Smith. Judd's got the footy now. He's claimed. Hand passes towards Ellard. Henderson a half chance. Man is on. Gives it across to Scotland. He will kick a goal. No, he won't. It's contagious, Bruce. Let's go down to Richard.
The Swans have kicked 1 goal since the 14-minute mark of the first quarter, and remember talking at the start of the game about them trying to stretch them for tools. So they went in with a plan of thinking they could take marks and kick goals. Just hasn't worked for them at all. Only 1 goal in 2 quarters.
And in that time, Richard, it's been 12 goals 7 to 1 goal 3. So complete domination now on the board. Cruiser belting it back in. Judd again spilling it forward. Simpson quite brilliantly done. Top of the goal square. Walker maybe held on to. Johnson to Shaw. Has to backtrack as the Swans are doing at the moment. Reid on a lead. Well played by Jamieson. Scotland on the up. Takes them on, Scotland. Creates some space. Left foots it, and a good mark taken by Smith.
Gee, they're looking dangerous at ground level in their forward line. The last time it came inside their 50, they had Garlett, Betts, Walker and Judd at ground level. I mean, that's some real pace.
Well, the Swans at the moment, they must feel like they're in a canoe with a tsunami approaching. Just every time they go near the footy, they are under so much pressure.
Russell goes out wide. Scotland. 80 plays 28.
I wonder what Heath Shaw's thinking. We saw him earlier having lunch. I mean, Collingwood, they'll be salivating at the chance of taking the Blues on. What a game that's going to be when they play each other.
I reckon what he might have been thinking, given that he was eating a bucket of chips, is he hopes they don't do the skin folds this week.
Obviously didn't get the berth to go to Arizona. I wonder how many North Melbourne players were on that flight. Mumford claimed from behind. So even level playing fields aren't always level. Here's a bounce. Cruiser, Mumford.
Might have been in the cargo section, dude.
That's right, with the pets.
They're still swimming.
Gee, they were good yesterday. They could make the 8. There goes the ball towards the outer side from McVeigh. Knocked towards the boundary line by Russell. Well played. Reid, quiet day today. And having called for Jenner to come onto the ground, he's been on a while and he hasn't had a touch. Cruiser sends it down towards half forward, and they will regroup 40 metres closer to goal. What a game he's played, Matthew Cruiser. Looks stronger too, I've got to say. The time off really has done him no harm at all. A lot bulkier. Some guys you look at and you just know if you ran into him it would hurt. Judd flicks it forward. Kennelly goes back after it. Robinson, like a kamikaze, came off the top rope to the ram and got him down.
Just watch this again. And that's tackle with intent, isn't it?
Gee, the Beast would have trouble holding up for that, wouldn't he?
Oh, yes, he would tap out, I think, the Beast.
Oh, Judd gets it brilliantly with the tap. Oh, does he? You betcha. Don't they love their champ? He must be the most idolised footballer in a long, long time, I reckon, Carlton, don't you? I mean, I don't know what Big Nick was like in the old days.
Well,
but
they love Steve Kernahan. It was actually a tap in from Robinson that got to Judd, and like, he hasn't had his best afternoon, but he's certainly been in the play all afternoon. And we mentioned about the fact that even though he wasn't getting possessions in the first half, he was still being able to create momentum, and it is just a super effort on his behalf to be able to get that ball and then explode like he did and then finish it off.
There's only 13 men have won more than one Brownlow medal. 2 of them are out there today, Goods and Judd. We might be looking at the 5th gear is Goods. We might be looking at a bloke to win a triple Brownlow medal this year and join the other 4 great ones, eh?
He's having a great season. If my mind serves me correctly, we go back to last year. He missed the opening couple of games, didn't he? Wasn't he under suspension?
Yes.
Missed the first 3, yeah. Murphy's had a great year, though, too. I mean, those two will be taking votes off each other.
Well, I think Juddy last year just went along to enjoy the night. I think he was actually really surprised. Bird, Jack, blessed relief for Siren. 86-28, start of the final term at Etihad. One down by Mumford in the opposite direction. Ellard, he's slung. Mumford following up that
Is he
time.
okay then? I reckon he's hit.
Well,
he's knocked himself
Free
out.
kick against you. No,
I'm not sure.
No, you've got him head first into the ground. Here, just here.
He hits his
Hang on,
head
wait.
flush.
No, it's your free. Take him off.
So that could be about 3 coming out of this weekend.
Yours.
He's just worried about the umpire actually just made the call on behalf of Ella. Then you see he's just dazed. He can't take his kick. Mumford, you've got to remember, missed 3 games last year after a similar tackle on Gary Ablett too.
No, you're right.
Got a couple of weeks on that.
Well, there's, I think, 2 pending from this round out there.
Yeah, 2 from last night.
So Murphy goes across and finds Tui.
It's such a difficult one to adjudicate, though, Dennis, too, because, I mean, when somebody has the ball, you want to tackle them hard. You want to actually make sure your tackle sticks.
Think of Mitch Robinson in the previous quarter, the way he just came in like a kamikaze, didn't he?
He did.
It's almost luck how they fall, isn't it? I mean, remember the old days, Tim? You tackle to hurt.
Well, that was
it,
the
wasn't
intention,
it?
yeah.
I mean, that was the intention of it. So it's gone a long way in the opposite direction now, but it's still hard when you've got that momentum, and people don't realise how strong these guys are, even the little fellas. They get someone at just the wrong moment, they're off balance, and that's a big man tackling a little man.
And there's nothing there to break the fall when the arms are locked down like that.
So Cruiser wins the tap. Bird and Murphy. Murphy sort of worked him out. Oh, did it brilliantly. Murphy gets a free kick.
Now, he's been prepared to take them high today, Murphy. He wants to be a little careful because that's not the way to do it.
So Jamison. It's going to be a hard team to get into, Carlton. Laidler obviously is somebody that they'd want in the back 6. Judd on a lead. Good mark. Good kick by Jamison. Judd's been quick today, hasn't he? I mean, think of how he accelerated away from the tap from Cruiser, and he's fast then. Now, he just thinks Cruiser will mark it. Judd, he just popped it up.
There's so much confidence in this bloke now, and they can afford to too.
Just think of Darren Jolly, Brad Ottens. I mean, Cruiser against both of those maybe in September is going to be something to look forward to. Good mark at the back.
I reckon one of their great selection problems will be, or quandaries will be, whether or not to go with Cruiser or Warnock, Cruiser and Hampson, or even O'Halpin, which gives them even more flexibility and athleticism.
So Grundy short. Well, Collingwood have sort of gone the O'Halpin way with Lee Brown, haven't they?
And it's served them well.
So McVeigh on the outer side. Hard against the boundary line. Sends it down towards half forward. Jamison. Confidence, so much a part of footy, and it's all with Carlton. Here's Murphy. Took him 3 quarters to catch Cruiser in possessions. At 3/4 time, he was 22, Cruiser 21. Here's Gibbs running out of defence. Don't be surprised if Cruiser passes Murphy in this final term, such as the day he's having. That was clever by Walker. Hooked the boot around and knocked it forward. O'Keefe, Kennedy, the defensive side of the wing, centering kick, Mumford. Mumford goes to the outer side. Johnson just lobs it over the top. That was a sloppy kick though. Bird got a half volley, and as a result, Cruiser's got the footy. Hand passes to no one really. Johnson onto it quickly for Sydney. Kicks inside the forward 50. Roberts-Thompson hasn't seen much of it. Came up to meet it. Jamison, he's taken down from behind. He's claimed by Reed. Good's there as well, and the umpire will ball it up.
Richo, you got a quick one for us?
Yeah, just when young Ellard came off, he was obviously very groggy, and Mitch Robinson, it was coming back on, just gives him a few more clips on the head just to see how he's going. Not sure he needed the extra couple of taps there, Mitch.
So Murphy getting those disposals going, Dennis, isn't he? He's ticking over. Simpson, lovely kick.
He runs well, Murphy, doesn't he? He didn't have a pre-season last year, and it impacted on his season, but he's had an uninterrupted pre-season this time, so he's actually fitter and stronger than he's ever been.
Well, Betts drops the mark, but makes up for it with a terrific tackle on Grundy.
Yep.
And a boundary throw in. Sydney's field kicking and their kicking for goal have been sloppy.
Even their handball has been sloppy this afternoon, but I think that's testament to the pressure that Carlton's applied too.
So Mumford has missed the last 3, better for the run, but well, he's been hammered. How's that again? I mean, Cruiser to Murphy. Murphy with a bounce and comes back inside. Hurlihan called to go on. Yaron with the burners on and then straightens up and kicks a glorious goal.
How much more can we say about Cruiser this afternoon, though? I mean, it's a great finish by Yaron, who's run from half back. But just watch this tap again. Just such wonderful touch, and it's Murphy who's knocked up getting the ball in this last quarter. He's up to 27 now, and they almost got themselves in trouble, but quick thinking from Houlihan, and they've always, or a good team always has that option, don't they? Even when they get themselves in trouble, instinctively they turn around, there's somebody there to receive the ball. That is just a beautiful bit of ruck work, and we've seen that a number of times this afternoon from Cruiser.
It'd be great to get John Nichols' take on that. I think Big Nick would be in raptures about what Cruiser is doing at the moment. So Cruiser, 23 possessions, Murphy 27, but that last one certainly gift-wrapped, and quite a few have been this afternoon by Matthew Cruiser. Kennelly, Johnson has to wait. He's going to be a player, Johnson. Sends it out very wide towards the boundary. That's okay. McVeigh led in the race. Johnson, I would imagine that's a career-high 20 possessions already, with plenty of time to go. Mind you, it's been down there a lot. So boundary throw in just outside the attacking 50, and Ellard's got a headache.
So Cruiser and Mumford. This time Mumford gets his hands on it. Simpson belts it forward for Carlton. And there's a ruthlessness about Carlton today, isn't there? And there has been all season. Richo?
Yeah, just watching Mark Murphy today, he's an 80-metre player around the clearance. He gets it and bursts, he runs and bounces and then kicks it 50 metres. He's in the elite class now with Swan, Pendlebury, Judd, Mitchell from Hawthorn. He is right up there now.
Well, he should get a free kick there, and Judd got it forward to him. It's a beautiful combination, Judd and Murphy. I mean, because they bring different things to the table, don't they?
They complement each other, don't they? Here's the free kick, or there should have been a free kick. Look at the number of players around these stoppages too. It's amazing that they've even been able to find some space, Carlton.
Tim, the Swans have got Collingwood next week, so they've got to pick up some pieces. Again, a brilliant tap, and then Betts! Not Oh, look at that, Eddie.
That is a great reaction.
I reckon Eddie Murphy would have been pleased with that reaction that Eddie Betts. He's got a future in Hollywood after
Just watch this again. This is Robinson. We've seen him do this on a number of occasions in their forward line, and that actually was a tap to the outer reaches of the stoppage. And that's one of the things that they would work on during the week. Their training.
And I reckon too, watching that, ultimately Eddie might be the first player this century to play in braces. Who does his shorts for him, do you reckon?
Big Nick.
Instead of the number, you get the shorts. There's Judd. Tracking at Judd. I think he wants a few possessions in this term. Gives it to Houlihan. Lofts it high in the air. There are those shorts again. Well, too short. Now Jeddah's away. We predicted this. Jeddah running around the outer side. Still going, Jeddah. Drives it down towards half forward, but Daigan in position A. Jeddah thought so much about running, but kick suffered. Short one. Carrazzo. Play on's the call. Sydney stopped. 3 players around Carrazzo and they stopped. Jamison comes back. Gibbs. Jamison along the line. Carrazzo so much of the footy. Daigan. Well, a little too flash that time. McGlynn hooks it back inside the forward 50. The mark is taken by Reid.
Just watch this chase from Robinson. I mean, they're almost 70 points up. Just watch this. Mitch Robinson in the centre of the screen now. Jeddah. I mean, he's not chasing just to make the numbers up then. He's chasing with intent.
Bad news for the Swans. They went the short pass, and as you can see, didn't go as planned. It wasn't sort of the Phil Mickelson short game, but it works out okay. Mark is taken by Shaw directly in front. So, I'll only be guessing as to when they got their last goal, but I do know it was a long time ago. Where's Josh when you need him? Kick straight through the middle from Shaw. 5 goals now to Sydney.
And that's his second goal since the 14-minute mark of the first quarter. I can remember that, but it was in the second term sometime. Back in those dim, dark days. Last century, Dennis.
That's really highlighting the problem they've had, though, isn't it? That Shaw would be the player that kicked the goal, given that he started the game as a half-back, picking up one of the smalls for Carlton.
There's Nick Malcheski. He just limped off the ground and went straight up to the doctor. Obviously had a lot of trouble with his knees, and he's been the one that's done the last twice now. He said he was all right to the doc, but just when he limped off, there was a little bit of a concern there for a minute.
O'Keefe, Yaron, just camps over the football. Coming away and doing it nicely down towards half forward. There was Hanbury. Well judged by McGlynn. Goes long towards full forward. Shaw in position. Wants to go on. Tackled. No. You wouldn't believe it. Holding the ball. No need to do that. I guess instinctive. He didn't know about Thornton, who was lurking. The shadowy figure of Thornton. Wide-eyed. Gets him 5 metres out.
They've got a great desire, though, haven't they, Carlton, to do the right things and the hard things.
Well, particularly Thornton, because he's one possibly that wouldn't be feeling completely confident of retaining his spot.
Well, Laidler, you'd think Laidler's...
That's a good point, there. He's probably playing for his spot every week he goes out there.
And Tom Harley's interview with Daigan as Hanbury. Goods takes a beauty. Harley spoke to Daigan about the back six being stable and said how important it was, Daigan did. So that's...
When defence is so important in modern day football.
So Goods does play on and gives it a big spray, and now gets a spray from the Blue fans.
Coming into this weekend's round of football, the top 6 teams had the best defensive records in the competition.
Yeah, you feel like the Swans, as Dennis said, that even in the wildest imagination, how could they beat Carlton or Collingwood on a dry day? But they're a barometer, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're that very solid sort of 5th to 7th team.
But
Geelong
also,
fans would be a bit upset with that, but I think Geelong is slightly different.
Yep. Good grab by Reid. Well, Geelong have had a lot of narrow escapes in their 12 wins, but boy, there's so much to like about them.
Kick inside the forward 50. Goods goes up and takes the mark. 20 metres out, so no sting in the game now. And for the first time, that defence that Tom Harley and Nick Daigan talked about at half-time
Right there, Adam.
Just getting a few cracks in it, but doesn't matter, of course. This time last week, if you think back, Tom was down on the boundary, wallowing in self-pity, talking about how cold it was. Goods comes in, kicks the goal. He's got 2.
Tim, he hasn't played very well, but he's been the only one you felt like could hurt them. Don't you agree?
He's looked the most capable, hasn't he? And I reckon that's where Sydney are at. They're sort of going through that period of trying to rebuild without actually going right back to the bottom to do it. And at this stage, and it's not just them, but they don't have the class that the top sides have, or the same depth of class as the top sides have.
They're not bad numbers, are they?
No, they're okay. And, you know, he was down forward early and then he went into the midfield and gave them some life.
So Judd's numbers, they're solid, aren't they? It's been just a good performance by him.
They don't tell the full story, though, either,
No.
those disposals.
The effort going. So Henderson in the ruck here. He had a really good third quarter, Henderson. Roberts Thompson pushed off it. Goods coming through the centre brilliantly. Shrugs aside Judd and then goes to full forward. Tui and Shaw, and then Reid brought down by Thornton. Tui in hard, Mumford in hard as well. Ball still to be won. This takes us back to the second quarter for a moment.
Well, Henderson's gone in the ruck because Cruiser actually needs a bit of a break. Just see the power and the explosion there of Adam Goods. He's having his calves worked on at the moment, Cruiser, and we know that he's underdone still at AFL level, so they may just be really gentle with him in this last quarter.
And the passion, too, from Goods. An ageing superstar, but trying to lift his teammates. Keefe had a good afternoon. Jetta. Oh. Now, was that high on the way past or from behind? There was a swinging arm there. It might have just glanced him. Aaron doesn't think it was him. Just wants a remote.
Yeah, there wasn't much in that, was there?
Not much at all.
I just wondered whether he could have had him on the shoulder. I don't know that he actually had him above the shoulder.
So Jetta from 40 out, and that's a nice kick. That's a beauty. Straight through the middle.
He actually kicked a really important goal last week, a set shot, which at the time Sydney needed. Interesting, you know, it's all gone now, Tim, but Dennis raised the thing, a little tap there, but Dennis raised the idea of maybe Jetta early in that second quarter. Why not bringing him on at that stage? But it's all elementary now.
Yeah, I just wonder about the way the game was being played, though. It really wasn't very open at that stage, and he benefits from an open game, whereas the game was still pretty tight.
Just forward of left half back.
You just wonder, every time you see Dygan played, so you just wonder how everyone could miss him for so long as an AFL player.
Yeah.
Well, Norwood had Puopolo and Dygan in that same team last year under Nathan Bassett. Puopolo's doing well for Hawthorn.
Both in defence. That would have been exciting. Blokes who can take the game on. Sydney have got it inside their forward 50 again. Mad scramble, and the umpire decides to ball it up. Interesting, Barlow came back to football today too, and despite the fact his side didn't go so well, he got quite a bit of the footy. That's a remarkable comeback too. Sometimes guys who miss a lot of footy miss it so much that they can get back and play well straight up. Obviously, Cruz are one of those. Kennedy takes a snap and kicks it behind.
Been close to Sydney's best. Kennedy's had 23 now. 18 of those contested possessions. He had 8 clearances as well, so he's done his bit. I mean, they've got good inside type midfielders, but they just lack that class on the outside.
So Gibbs had to retreat, but he did it so well to Jamison. McVeigh used the body well that time. And then Shaw kicks to about 40 metres. Gee, Bolton was so brave, wasn't he? Gibbs' little kick to Murphy. So it was Gibbs and Murphy and almost Cruiser involved, and out wide finds Curnow. Love the way Carlton are using Gibbs too, Tim. You feel like he's got another gear to go to if they need it. He sort of cleans up all the time for them. Judd gets it from Dygan to Houlihan to Scotland. Good tackle though coming over the back, and now O'Keefe uses it. Now running on hard, Bolton over the top. Reid, Thornton working hard, but Bolton takes the mark.
He deserves an easy one, doesn't he? He works so hard, Jude Bolton.
She started the year with a blaze. He kicked 3 goals in the first 2 matches. He kicked 3 against the Demons and 3 against the Bombers, and he's on world record pace for him, but they've dried up since that. But what a great soldier he's been. And there you go, he's got it. Just.
His improvement as a player this year was extraordinary in the first part of the season. So much so that I think that most sides probably didn't pay him as much attention as what they should have, or as much respect as what they should have. And just having a look at his afternoon there, I mean, that's reasonably tidy for somebody who doesn't play in the midfield. He works hard. He's always up on the tackle count. And he's really kept his career alive this year. He's a warrior. That's probably the best way to describe him. That is a big crunch there between Scotland and also Simpson, and that's what he got up after. Look at him just running in the bottom of the screen there into that space.
Robinson, quick hands, Gibbs, Carazzo. How about Curnow moments ago winning that hard ball initially, setting this run up. Scotland goes down towards half forward. Henderson not paid the mark, almost. Simpson in trouble. Was holding the ball, surely. Oh, well played by Hanbury, lacking support, looked up, nobody there. Murphy, he got it from Houlihan, close to the boundary line, taken across by McVeigh. Interesting, Bruce, talking about these reclamation projects that Sydney so often run. I think one bloke who's going to test them probably is Andreas Everett. Not in this side, been disappointing.
Yep.
Not sure he will add to their group of players they get from other clubs that really turn out well.
He has to improve his disposal, Denison, his decision-making there.
Nice size, isn't it?
He's a great size, and he's a very athletic type of player too, but there were 2 areas that let him down is his skill and his decision-making.
So Judd decides just to pop it up to about 20 metres out. Henderson underneath, Swans at the back. Kennedy talked about his game. Good tackle by Gibbs.
Well, Carlton only averaged, Richo touched on this before, and it's a really good point, they only averaged 74 tackles. They've had 84 this afternoon, so that would be an area that Brad Ratton would be really happy in post-game about the fact that they have been prepared to get their hands dirty.
So Mumford over the top, a cruiser, and then Judd to Gibbs to goal. They've done that a few times from stoppages today, haven't they?
That's a lovely combination, though, too, isn't it? Cruiser to Judd to Gibbs. I mean, there's some real class there.
1-3-1.
Well, he's up to 30 now, Gibbs. And then just that explosion again from Chris Judd. We've seen that so many times in the second half.
Brett Ratton's got to be happy. Coming up, they've got a pretty good draw, you'd think. I mean, the big game, Richmond's a big game for them. So, I mean next week with West
Eagles
Coast,
are tough. I mean,
that's a
they're
big
a physical game.
So, again, they'll be playing here as Judd belts away through it on a Sunday afternoon against an out-of-Melbourne team, West Coast. So, a similar crowd, you'd think, a big build-up. Bolton's hands are a bit slick. Back to Simpson. Simpson with a bounce. Lights up the goals. And bounces a long way.
Is that us next week, Bruce?
That's us next week.
Again, though, the momentum that they created from that stoppage, they didn't get a clean possession first up. Judd burst almost from the stoppage, but they just kept the ball moving their way, and then eventually they found that quick player on the outside.
Holden's got the footy.
I'd be happy to call Carlton every week, wouldn't you?
Yeah, lovely to watch. Enjoy this. Real anticlimax this game, have to say that. Came here expecting a lot this afternoon. It's delivered little. Goods, McGlynn, down towards half forward, that's nice. Jack, very quiet, comes up on the lead. A mate of mine, Shane, was just so excited about this game. He was telling me all week, well, I reckon he was on the couch about midway through the second term, sound asleep holding the remote.
I think we got him there.
Max, right here.
We just Googled Shane. Here's Jack. 14th possession, but virtually unnoticed today. It's a nice kick, though. Puts it through. His second goal.
Tim, I guess the only thing, John Longmire, we heard Stewie Hewitt at three-quarter time, and John Longmire, they didn't want this to be a disaster to stay. Now, it's a bad day, but to their credit, they've
battled out.
Yeah,
they've battled the last game, the last quarter out, and I mean, it really is demonstrating the gulf between the top sides of the competition. And I mean, they're really on the next tier, aren't they? The Sydney Swans may be ahead of a couple of other teams too, so it's a real reality check for them.
So the Swans sitting in that 5th, 6th place. They've got Collingwood next week, Jim.
Yeah, well, that's the toughest of their next 4 games by a long way. I mean, they are really capable of winning the other 3 games.
So they're safe, you'd think, in the 8, wouldn't you?
I'd think so, yeah.
If Fremantle and Essendon are a little shaky now, you'd say that the Swans are going to play finals for the 8th year in 9, so they're so consistent, but there is a big gap between the top 4. That's holding the ball. And John Longmire, who asked the big question at three-quarter time of his team, is getting a reasonable response, isn't he?
And that is an area that Mitch Robertson needs to improve. Just his awareness at times when he has possession of the ball. The first thing he had to do was actually go out wide. There was a Carlton player then, but he just tried to buy a little bit too much time with the ball. And then by the time he had a rethink about what he was doing, he was nabbed.
This is Sydney's leading goal kicker for the year, McGlynn, and he makes it a goal. And the Swans get a lot closer than they probably deserve to on the scoreboard. What a good pickup he's been. I mean, we talk about recycled players for Sydney. You know, at Hawthorn, Timmy, he played 44 games and kicked 28 goals. Sydney, he's played 26 games and kicked 45 goals. So
he's a live wire. Yeah, no, he's a live wire and he works hard. As do most of these Sydney players. It's really the class of Carlton that's got him today.
So
just watch that. Had the opportunity there, Mitch Robinson, to get rid of the ball, held on to it too long, and good pressure.
So in the dying seconds, Carlton 100-66. They kicked 6 goals in the last quarter, the Swans, but Carlton move up to 3rd on the ladder. Impressive. So 166 here. So Carlton led from the front by their big names, but Cruiser, particularly the revelation today after so long out.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team on Carlton knows. We're all the champions that like to send us. We'll keep our ends up, and they will know that we've been playing against the famous old Blues.
This has been a Fox Sports